person that comes to the house that you have to open the door to, and they're terrified, they don't know what's going on. Those are lasting scars. They will never get over that. Even to this day, my children know their own father was responsible for the lies. That's a tough pill to swallow. You know, we all have baggage from growing up, but that's some of theirs. And nothing has ever been done about the repeat callers and the other people of the 12 to 20 people who all decided to gang up on me and try to drag me down, whether it was the school because I was fighting for an IEP, or it was somebody else, a girlfriend, or the girlfriend's kids, or their therapist. They had layers of immunity. And meanwhile, I had no protection at all. And the effect of this, being accused doesn't disappear. It follows the family. It stays in the records, stays in the neighborhood. People talk, whether it's unfounded or not, it's real harm. And similar, as I've shared this with the House before, similar to the story of those of you who recall the Scarlet Letter when you read that in school, if you're like Hester, whether she did something right or wrong, you still go away with carrying this burden for the rest of your life, that you are accused of something that you didn't do. And some of these things being so frivolous as your child looked unkempt. You know, I mean, even the calls that I would get when they would come in, they'd apologize and say, we're really sorry, you got another one of these, you know? So I hope that you hear these stories today and pass this. This is a crime the perpetrator is getting away with and knows it. There are loopholes in these other laws. There's no enforceability. And that is really what's chilling, is to know that in the state of New Hampshire, it's chilling to know that nobody cares that I've been harmed and no one's gonna do anything about it. And a host of other people are walking away with that burden for the rest of their lives, and the children of them walking away. That's truly what's chilling here. So please pass this bill. Thank you. Questions? Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
And Mr. Z. I'm Robert Tangway. I'm the author of Incentives in the Environment and also Emissions Tax and the book, New Hampshire Oliver Twist, which talks about this. I am not in support of this bill as currently drafted, but I think that if it were to go through, it would be some sort of a step. The problem, I've taken a lot of notes with the testimony, and I want to give a hand for the lobbyists that were asked a tremendous amount of questions and took up a tremendous amount of time, but they're not here right now. That's Waypoint, and they're getting paid. And if you look at it as a business, it's simply increasing the market share. Same thing with the Domestic Violence Coalition. Most children don't get abused. Abuse is rare. And they have to market that abuse is rampant. It's actually pretty trashy, and it happens in mostly lower class families. And so does drug abuse too. And it only gets noticed when a rich kid dies of a drug overdose. But when two parents that are poor, like in Harmony Montgomery's case, which is what we don't talk about, someone goes to the Manchester police and they don't care. And then if you go back to Miller v. Todd, where his two daughters were examined in their private parts for years, and after being accused, as the father was accused, all unfounded, of false reports.
I know some other members of the public testified about false reports, but those false reports applied particularly to them. So rather than discuss a broader nature of I understand, but if we can just stick to the subject matter of the bill in the contents of it.
It's the false reports, because, and so I appreciate that, but again, I'm going to bring it back respectfully, Senator Abbas, that you didn't do that when a lobbyist was on this panel right here. You didn't say go back when there's talking about everything and written testimony, and you asked her a tremendous amount of questions. So Miller v. Todd is a very famous case, and also involving the Manchester police that do nothing.
Excuse me, again, the statements about the Manchester police, I'm going to consider that out of order. I just ask you, with your testimony, I respect that you have a right to your opinion, but please stick to the subject matter before us involving the bill. I understand your opinion on that, but we don't need to indulge in that anymore.
It's not my opinion, it's the Supreme Court's opinion. So.
It's the last warning I'm going to give you.
Well, then you'd be violating.
You may continue.
Thank you, Senator, but you would be violating my First Amendment rights and ability to redress grievances, which is also a violation of the New Hampshire
We'll cross
Constitution.
that bridge when we get there. Please continue with your testimony.
Okay, so as the other people did testify, and I can testify in my own case, is I went to the police. I went to the police. I called them. I have the police records. And actually, all three of you have received a letter from me with a picture of the criminal defamation, which that's what a false report would be, is a criminal defamation. And haven't really done anything about it. And I don't think that you guys are bad people. I just think that you're in it for your own reasons, politically, and I think there's a lot of fear of what happens when you go against the grain. Now, if you're talking about, so the main reason why this bill shouldn't be passed as written is because it has no teeth. Attorneys, under the penalty of perjury, RSA 311:6, must report judicial misconduct. Doesn't say that specifically, but it says to let no untruth and correct truths. So they don't follow that. They don't follow perjury. They don't follow unsworn statements. The police are and these are all crimes. Child abuse is crimes. So just like domestic violence, 173B, all acts, they can call it an act, but a pickle is still a cucumber. An act is still a crime. Therefore, the police must prosecute, or they're holding someone outside the protection of the law. But what you're really going to find is that you can write all the laws you want and create all the penalties, but it is up to the prosecutor to prosecute. And then I called the police, and because the mother of my children was at one point having an affair to a married police officer, we were left, and then took my children out of state, which is 633:4. They didn't even take reported. So I think that this bill needs teeth as far as failure to prosecute and failure to investigate, because they don't have failure to investigate is different than failure to prosecute. So they're not even investigating. The police aren't even investigating reported crimes or child abuse. And so I think that when you hear people's specific stories, it kind of goes out of, it's boring to people. They don't care. They care about the systemic issues, and you should too. And that's why you seem to ask so many questions of the lobbyists, because they're talking about systemic issues, but they're lobbying for more grant money. That's what they're doing here, and that's why they wear little red buttons.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Listen, to say that about that a lobbyist, whoever, who's already testified, and to assign that type of intent to them is inappropriate. So please, that's not going to be tolerated any further as well. You may continue with your testimony, but no, I am going to, last warning, do not assign intent to any member or any member of the public, whether they're a representative, whether they're a senator, whether it's just a member of the public or a lobbyist, to suggest that their motivations, unless it's related to the actual testimony they provided. To suggest it's for financial reasons is not appropriate.
Okay. Well, you would concur that wearing a red button, as required by law, indicates that they are being paid to speak here. Would you not? So I can limit to that.
It's an orange one, but I understand.
Oh, orange. I'm sorry.
I think it's pretty well known that many lobbyists are paid, so we don't need to discuss that any further. Please
Right.
stick to the content.
Thank you. And I don't mean it to, okay. So They mentioned the chilling effect, and that's their testimony and the chilling effect. But again, I want to bring it back to the systemic problems, the silver bullet. I call it the civil bullet. So what we're having is the police have actually a very low standard to get a warrant. It's probable cause, right above a suspicion. When you go into court for a DV civilly, it's a preponderance of the evidence. And if you review the documents submitted by the Domestic Violence Task Force and the review of the Judge Pauly case with Lindsay, you'll find that they know that domestic violence and what's actual abuse. And they know the case law, but they don't do anything about it because they make a lot of money off of
All right.
litigation.
Okay, at this point, we've heard enough. Again, I gave you several warnings on that.
Warnings on
At this
what?
time, I'm going to ask you to close out your testimony. You may conclude. But
Okay.
again, I'm applying that type of intent to the court and not going to be accepted when testifying before this committee.
Well,
You may conclude your testimony.
okay. So I'd like to conclude people are saying, and that there's a perception that children don't know, they can't report anything. Well, let me tell you a personal story that I've thought about very much so. When I was 4.5 years old, a man tried to molest me. He told me if I closed my eyes and sucked his thumb, that I would get a Keebler cookie. I was smart enough to know that he would not, and I opened my eyes, and there before me was the attempt of molestation. I went and told my babysitters, and then my first time in court was 5 years old. Children know what's going on, and they shouldn't be harassed by false allegations. Making someone a mandatory reporter that is not a government official or sanctioned by the government, licensed by the government, I believe is unconstitutional. But I guarantee that anyone in this room, any decent human being, if they saw any child abuse, anyone, myself included, would stop that abuse immediately. But it doesn't happen as much as we're admitting. And that's what we need to do. You can pass this bill. I think that you should pass this bill, but there's laws that aren't being followed because nobody's prosecuting on them, and the police will. So you need to add teeth to have the police prosecute on this. And then I also think that as the Honorable former Representative Betty Gay said, line 10, Department may, shall. It should be changed to shall. It shall to meet Article 15, right of the accused. I am sorry that you feel that I may have crossed the line, but it is very important that these things happen. It does not matter. You cannot do anything in my case unless you remove justices from the Supreme Court.
Thank you for your testimony.
Do you have any questions?
Thank you.
May I ask a question why you don't have any questions of
It's not appropriate to inquire of the committee of questions. The committee is asked questions to the members testifying. So.
Senator
Thank you.
Abbas, Article 8 of the New Hampshire Constitution requires the government to be responsive. So if I ask you questions, you should be responsive. But I can't make you do anything. So I ask that you do consider my testimony and any documents that I have or will give you, and take a hard look at it, because I think that you are trying, and this committee is trying to make the world a better place, but they're not giving enough weight to actual people that have knowledge of actual events.
You concluded your testimony already. Thank you again. Are there any members of the public present who wish to testify that have not testified already? I see 2 representatives raising their hand. Would you like to come up together?